The Supernote Manta and the Viwoods AI Paper are two of the best black and white e-ink note takers that have the latest screen tech, but there are some pivotal differences between the two. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through what those are and which one might be better for you. So first I want to get into the hardware. Now in terms of the screens, these are both the same panel. So they are a Carta 1300 black and white 10.65 inch screen. And they have a resolution of 2560 by 1920, the vertical to horizontal. Now the Supernote Manta here has a Feel Right 2 application on it, which has a different texture. So it feels a little different and you can use these ceramic tips. The Viwoods has these proprietary tips. There's one soft one and one hard one. This one right here is the softer one. It doesn't last as long, but it has a better texture. The harder one lasts longer, but does not have as good of a texture. It's a little slipperier. Because of that Feel Right 2, I do believe that the pen to paper distance is a little bit better on the Viwoods, or at least I've noticed. Neither of these has a front light, so they do have generally pretty good pen to paper distance. When you add a front light, you create a little bit more of a gap, something like the Kindle Scribe or the Books devices that have those. Or even the mini version of this, which I've compared to the Nomad here, which is the smaller brother of the Manta. Now for processor specs, the Viwoods does technically have a better processor. It's an octa-core 2 gigahertz, so faster clock speed than the quad-core 1.8 gigahertz in the Manta. It's called the X2 core, that's why it's called the A5 X2 here. But this is all replaceable, whereas this here is a sealed design. This is not something that you'll be able to upgrade over time. The Manta in the back here, you have the option to open it up and then change that over time when new stuff comes out, or if something were to happen to it and it needs a replacement generally. They both have 4 gigabytes of RAM. The Viwoods has 128 gigabytes of flash storage, whereas the Supernote Manta has 32 gigabytes, but it has the micro SD card slot where you can upgrade that up to 2 terabytes. So a lot more potential storage on this one. But out the box, 128 gigabytes is pretty good in general. And then the Viwoods does have a 4100 milliamp hour battery, whereas the Manta has a 3600 milliamp hour battery, which is also replaceable. We'll talk about it a little bit more in the app section and the Android apps. I do end up using this more for the Android apps. So I think with the background processes that those are running, I do end up finding that my battery life is pretty equivalent for the two. I haven't done any scientific tests, but I think they are generally around the same, because they're using the same panel and the battery life is 500 milliamp hours bigger in here, but I'm using more intensive apps. Your mileage may vary in that regard, but that's how I use it. And then just to close out the hardware section, the Viwoods is thinner at 4.5 millimeters thin. This is the thinnest of these ink tablets, whereas the Manta is 6 millimeters thin in the middle and then tapers out to about 3.6, I think, on the sides. So a little bit bigger, but 370 grams, 375 grams. Obviously, if you add the folios, that's a little bit more for each. But in terms of the footprint here, they are the same panels, but the Viwoods has smaller bezels. So maybe you can see here, the Manta is a little bit bigger in every direction by a few millimeters. And then a lot of people are interested in this, but the port on the Viwoods is on the bottom, and on the top, you get the port there for the Manta. The power button on the AI Paper has a fingerprint sensor, so that will unlock the device directly. The Manta, you're able to put a passcode on if you want. So that should conclude the hardware of the devices. Now getting into the actual styli. Now there is a little sliver in here. For the folios, the Viwoods has a little loop here that you can put the pen, and it magnetically connects, so I've never had it come off. You're also able to tuck that back, so if you didn't want to use it, you can tuck it in here. There's a little indent, and you can pop that there, and then just have the pen freely there. But I wouldn't recommend that when you're putting it in a bag, because it will fall out. The Manta has a pen loop that you are able to customize. So these little screws right here, they give some hardware in the box that you can change that or make a custom pen loop if you want. If you make a custom pen and have a bigger pen that you want to fit in there, or if you just want a different design. But yeah, it just slides in, and like a traditional pen loop, the actual part of the pen there holds it in. So for this one, for example, I just pop out the pen like that, and then I normally write. And then I can just pop it right back in. The Viwoods has extra tips. It comes with a little box, but you can also store 2 extra ones in here. So I have a hard one and a soft one in there, and I can pop that out, and when I'm on the go, I can change that if I need to. I've never had to change it on the go, but it is a nice feature, I guess, to have built into the folio. Now we'll do just a little sound test for you so you can hear the difference. The Supernote pens, though, are ceramic tipped. So that Feel Right applicator that I was talking about on the Manta here is what allows them to use these ceramic tips that you actually never need to replace. The pens are more expensive. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But this Viwoods one is included with the device, and it has a customizable button on it here that you can press, so you can use like the eraser, or it also does have a back eraser as well. You can do that. The Supernote pens don't generally do that. The software does have support for that, for example. So if I use the Viwoods pen on here, I can erase. Actually, really quickly, before we talk about the software features, I think it's important to talk about pricing a little bit because that does differentiate these two a good amount. And so the Viwoods, it comes in at $549 with the pen and the folio included and extra tips. The Supernote Manta comes in at $505 US, but that does not include the folio and it doesn't include the pen. So if you're getting the folio and the pen, the cheapest it will be is $635. And then you have to consider some places in the world, I've heard that shipping is more expensive than it is to the US, for example. So that's something you have to consider. You obviously can use any Wacom EMR as well, or you can do a DIY pen that could bring it cheaper. And then maybe you don't actually need the folio, or potentially you could make your own as well if you want to save some money there. That being said, if you're looking at the discounted price of the Viwoods right now, which is $500 versus $635, this is a much cheaper device in general. At that point, then it's only $80 difference, but currently right now it's much cheaper depending on when you are watching this. And then in terms of what you get for that money with the return policy, I believe the return policy is 100 days, just like the Remarkable on the Viwoods, and the return policy is 30 days on the Supernote Manta. The Manta has a 2-year extended warranty, whereas the Viwoods has a 14-month warranty. For the software of the two, I want to talk about some of the unique features of each of them that might be appealing towards your use case. Now, the Viwoods AI Paper, it's kind of in the name. The AI button here, also there's 3 buttons here. There's a back button, a multitasking button, and or a home button, or multitasking if you hold it, home if you tap it, and then the AI button here. The AI button will allow you to use ChatGPT 4, or you can use the new DeepSeek model as well. And those are integrated into the hardware and the software. So you can, like this page of notes, for example, or a PDF, I could have the AI scan that page as well. Or I can make a prompt and then it'll shoot me some text that I want to copy into a page or a document, for example. I will do a dedicated video about the AI on the Viwoods AI paper, so I'll link that here when it's done. But that is a definitely unique feature on the Viwoods. As well as one of my favorite features is if you drag in from the corner here, you have the ability to crop, annotate, or record directly onto whatever page you are on there. Then the Supernote has a new feature called stickers, where you can have imported stickers. I plan on making some packs of stickers, so I'll link that in the description when it's done. But you'll see, you can resize everything just like it was a written piece of text there. And then it has the background OCR, which is searchable, and it has headers, keywords, and you can build your own table of contents in the documents itself. So the organizational power is still stronger in the Supernote. But that being said, I really like the calendar in the Viwoods, and they have been updating the software pretty regularly. So I hope to see some improvements in that aspect of organization as well. And then in terms of drawing on the two, they are both quite good for drawing. The Manta has its own dedicated app. So this is called Atelier, which is an app that has more features generally, and it has the ability to pinch and zoom. Just FYI, the Manta does not have tilt support, it has pressure support, whereas this has both tilt and pressure. This does feel a little more like an actual pencil, where that feels like pen on paper, but you can get that pencil effect in the drawing app on there. One nice thing about the Viwoods is you have the ability to do shapes, lines, even complex shapes right on the paper. You don't have the ability to pinch and zoom though yet. So that is a nice feature though, because while the Supernote did just get line snapping in the regular note-taking app, it doesn't have that in Atelier for the drawing app. So sometimes, honestly, there are things that I would prefer to draw in the regular Notes app because of that line feature. If you're doing perspective stuff, it can be a little nicer. So I'm hoping that's something they bring to Atelier soon, but is currently not a feature. You can pinch and zoom in Atelier here, which can be really nice for sketching. They both work well for PDFs and books. The PDFs, there's a feature on here where you can actually use a digest feature. So as you highlight stuff, it will pull out all that digested information. On the Viwoods AI paper, you do have the ability to screen record or crop things out like I was showing, a little easier than you could on here. But both generally pretty good for PDFs. And then for books, they do have built-in apps. This has Kindle built in, and then you do have the ability to sideload Android apps. I've done a whole video on sideloading, so I'll pop that up here if you want to see it on the Supernote. But it is a little trickier to do, whereas this now recently they added Google Play integration, so you can just download apps directly onto it. In terms of actually using the apps, the reason I end up using this more for apps is that you have refresh modes. So you have the best display, you have a fast and an ultra fast. And so if I'm using Libby, for example, and I want to read through a magazine or something that is a little more scroll based, or if I want to do something on the web, then this is just better because it has that faster refresh rate. And the fast mode, I think, is a good blend between having decent quality still and having speed, whereas the ultra fast suffers a lot on the actual quality. But if you're reading something static, then obviously the best display is better. So for Android apps, this I do think is better, and it's more integrated into the software. Whereas this, that's more of an edge case, I think, to be using those Android apps. I should note that the Supernote Manta has the ability to transfer stuff on or off it through a partner app, which you can get on your laptop or your phone. The Viwoods is relatively similar, but you access that through a URL portal where you can then do the same thing, and you can access that on your phone or your laptop as well. Both do have the ability to screen share as well, and those work great as long as you're on the same Wi-Fi network. If you do have any questions on either of these, please feel free to leave them below and I'll get back to you. Like I mentioned, I did do a comparison of the Nomad here, the little brother of the Manta, to the Viwoods AI Paper Mini, and I compared those two. So you can check that out over here if you want, or you can check out my Supernote playlist right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.